Hey man, welcome man. We are live, man. It's exciting. It feels like it's been a while since we've gotten to do one of these conversations, and so I'm excited. For anybody who this is their first time visiting our page or joining us, my name is Jeffrey Brown. I'm the Vice President of Development and Marketing for Partnership Against Domestic Violence. It's an honor and a privilege again to bring these conversations to you. This is honestly one of the highlights of the things that I get to do for the organization. And what fitting time to bring this back than the start of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So February has been marked by Congress and by the president as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So if you visit our page throughout this month, you're going to see a lot of engaging content and a lot of engaging conversations, all centered around Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And we're excited for the first time, we're going to welcome Miss Amelia Harmon to the conversation. Today's conversation will be Conversations with the Counselor. And so she gets the privilege of kicking off this conversation and kicking off this month for us. So Miss Amelia, tell us who you are. Where do you work? What do you do?
Well, I'm Amelia Harmon, and I am a therapist. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I work at Pace Academy in their upper school as one of the two counselors that work in the upper school with the high schoolers. And I've been there for 5 years now.
Wow. All right, so I'm gonna kick it to Caroline and Flossie here, but Miss Amelia, as they introduce themselves, this is not a question that is on the page that I was told to ask you, but I'm sure they also told you that I typically don't stick to those questions. So, so in the back of your mind, while Flossie and Caroline introduce themselves,
Sure.
I wanted, when I was in school, we didn't have a therapist or the traditional thought of what a counselor was, right? We thought about that counselor as that person that helps get you to college, but it sounds like you're not doing any of that in school. So I want that to be the first question.
Sure.
When did that turn and when did that start to happen? Yeah. That transition, and then also how beneficial is that role to a high school student today? So sit on that. Flossie, introduce yourself. Caroline, right after that.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Flossie Ross, and I am the new Dating Violence Empowerment Advocate with PADV.
Perfect. Thank you. Caroline, you next.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for logging in and joining. My name is Caroline, and I'm the Dating Violence Prevention Advocate with Partnership Against Domestic Violence. I've been in this role for about 8 months. I'm really excited to kick off Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And yeah, thanks you all for joining.
Perfect. So, hey, so Amelia, you got the question. That's the first one. Is this role new for you guys, and how important is it to have somebody like yourself in the school with access to students?
So I had the same experience as you, Jeffrey. I did not have there was a guidance counselor at my school. I don't think I could even tell you what their name was. I never talked to them. So it was not like it is now. I think within the independent schools, there's a little more wiggle room with having a licensed therapist on staff. I know in public schools, there's guidelines around different education and background that you have to be able to work in a public school. But I am hearing more and more of them bringing on actual therapists to work in the school. And we even try to move away from the term guidance counselor because it implies sort of what we grew up with. And that's not really at all what we do. There's even a separate college counseling department. They handle the college stuff. So we really are doing mental health counseling with the kids. And sometimes it's a sort of a quicker, I didn't do well on my math test and that really upset me, to I struggle with anxiety, I struggle with depression. And I think it's an incredible resource for the kids to have on campus. I think many of them don't even know that they do struggle with mental health. And on top of being able to just counsel you in the moment that you're having that, or, regularly to be able to gain skills, we educate all of the kids. So that's what's really been great, is that we can create programming within the school to educate about mental health. And it isn't just when you're struggling, and it's about everything we all do every single day. And that's all part of our mental health, and how to handle stress and how to handle anxiety, because every human deals with stress and anxiety. It's not just people that have a diagnosed anxiety or depressive disorder. It's all of us. So just some normalization, psychoeducation around that. But I don't, at PACE, there's been a licensed therapist for probably 15 years,
Mhm.
and a counselor. And the kids, they'll just come into our office sometimes and just say, I need to talk to you.
Wow.
It's awesome. It's really great. And we're seeing it more and more that they're willing to come in and talk about whatever it is that's going on. And they find that once they start talking about it, like, oh, I feel better now. So it's really been, I think it's such a valuable resource to have. And I know there are other independent schools in Atlanta that have licensed therapists as their counselors. And again, I've heard of some public schools that are starting to incorporate that too. And I just think it's so valuable to the kids that school isn't just about learning math and science and history. It's about learning how to be a citizen of the world, and that involves managing stress.
So, Mill, you brought up that you ended with the word that I think I want to carry to Caroline next, and you're talking about stress and stressors. And again, not on my approved list of questions, but Caroline, I'm sure you can answer this. If this is your first time watching with us, this is a running theme with me. I typically don't stick to these questions because the conversation gets too good, and I want to talk to everybody genuinely. So, Caroline, what kind of stressors do we do, or dating violence that teenagers have to go through, is that an added stressor that we're seeing placed on top of kids and shoulders that they have to carry?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the world of dating has changed so much, especially from even when I was in high school. And there's a lot of added layers of the pandemic and being in a lot of like technology relationships, digital relationships, trying to navigate, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. It can be a maze to navigate sometimes for young people to figure out dating. Am I being too forward? Am I not being forward enough? And I think it can definitely be a challenge. And then even to add on to the fact of if it ever happens to be a teen dating violence situation, then the stress will only add, and it can be really difficult for students to maintain daily life, get their schoolwork done, be a productive family member. So yeah, it does add on a lot of stress.
Hey, Flossie, I want to kick another question to you, and it's a slight tweak on one of my questions here. We understand that teen dating violence is an issue for our youth today. How big is the issue, and what do parents really need to know around dating violence, in your opinion?
I think it's important for parents to realize that it is happening. As much as we want our children to be young and to think that they aren't having these experiences at school, I know I like to think my son doesn't curse and doesn't listen to, bad music, but he does. And, so it's important for us to kind of take our head out of the sand and recognize that, they're living in this world, and we're not with them 24/7.
Mhm.
And so teen dating violence has been around for forever. And whether or not we knew the name of it, whether or not we called it dating violence, right now we know more, and we need to try and do better with what we know.
So, Miss Amelia, I want to come to you.
Sure.
So understanding, like, you're hearing it from our kids, right? What advice do you have for parents? And I'm not saying every day you get hit with I'm dealing with dating violence in my relationship, right? Like, that may not be something you hear every day, but you're hearing things like that.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for parents to understand? Hey, this is what your kids are going through, and here's how you help them.
Well, I think one of the biggest sort of misconceptions about it is that it's only a physical That to understand that manipulation, that coercion, controlling behaviors, like that also falls under the category of dating violence. And I'm not sure everybody recognizes those signs to say this is unhealthy and could become very dangerous for my child. And even for yourself to recognize it, even if you're in the relationship. And so there are so many resources on healthy boundaries and how to help your children have those. And what we tell the parents the most is the best thing you can do for your child is to model that yourself. Look at your own boundaries. Are they healthy? And if they're not, maybe even use that as a time to talk with your child about, this is what I'm going to do to make it better, because this is what people deserve in a relationship and this is what we don't deserve in a relationship. But even more than that, a sense of self-worth, to be able to say, I don't deserve to be treated this way, is hard for a teenager. But the more self-esteem they have, the more connected they are to their parents, the more likely they'll be able to do that.
Miss Amelia, let me tell you, I'm loving your conversation here, because every time you give an answer, I come up with a new question.
Okay.
And so, Flossie, I'm going to throw this one to you. And what are some warning signs that parents should be looking for if they're thinking, man, I wonder, hey, if I'm not watching this now, I'm watching this later on, or I'm watching this in a re-air. However you're watching this, or whatever you're watching this, what are some warning signs that parents can really look out for if they're wondering if their teen is in an unhealthy relationship, or if they're in a relationship that could be abusive, and their kid could be a victim of teen dating violence?
So one of the things parents want to look for are changes in behavior. So whether or not your teen is starting to pull away from you, or they're not doing normal activities that they used to really enjoy, and not just they're not doing it now because they're getting older, but like they liked basketball last week and now basketball is no more and this is no more, and they just want to be in their room the whole time, or bless our hearts, they're constantly on the phone, but just changes in their behavior where they aren't acting the way that they normally act. So those are some of the warning signs you want to look for.
Awesome. Caroline, I want to kick a question to you. And when I started at PADV many moons ago, you can stat yourself to death, right? But the one stat when we talk about teen dating violence that always jumps out at me is that 1 in 3 teenagers will deal with some form of dating violence or know somebody who's dealing with it. But 83% of parents think it's not an issue for their children, right? So how can those stats be so disparagingly off that 33% of our kids are dealing with it, but 83% of parents are like, yeah, that ain't an issue for my kid? Can you speak to that for me?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really interesting question because it doesn't make sense. If this is something that our teens are dealing with, how is it that so parents don't feel like it's an issue for them? And, part of me feels like maybe there's a disconnect between these conversations when dealing with teens and parents. Speaking with the group of teens that I normally meet with, they have so many great ideas and they want to talk about these things, but maybe they'll say things like, my parents just don't understand, or they're afraid of telling their parents in order, maybe they think they'll get in trouble, or that they just won't understand. I know even growing up, I was always like, well, I know that if I bring this up, I'm just going to get lectured, or, they're just going to tell me that I'm wrong and I'll be punished. So, I really think that being able to merge the gap of this communication between our teenagers and parents, have this conversation about teen dating violence, that we're honest that, yes, this is a problem that a lot of people face. And it's very real that you may know someone or experience this yourself. So of course, the education piece of making sure people know that this is an issue, and making sure that we are opening dialogue and creating space for parents to listen to their teens about these issues.
Man, let me tell you, y'all are hitting this out the park, man. This, you guys are. I'm talking. You're setting the questions up with how you answer the previous question. So, Miss Amelia, it's coming to you.
Great.
How can parents create a safe space or space to talk to their teens and ask questions without having the fear of, I'm just going to get lectured, or, or something else is going to happen. How can advise us on how parents can kind of create that space for teens to just be open and honest and ask and have these kind of conversations?
It's tough. It's not easy to do. And certainly, I think timing is always a good thing. The biggest thing we hear from our teens is, when I walk in the door, the first question I get is, "How was your day?" And the last thing I want to do is talk about my day. So I think like finding the right time, especially if you're noticing behaviors like Flossie was talking about, the biggest thing is to really try to create a environment of communication where you're able to just listen. And certainly there are going to be times when you need to guide your teenager and give advice. The more you're able to listen and validate and turn it back onto them and say, "What do you think you're going to do?" Let them come up with a solution for themselves. They may be way off base and you may need to guide them on that, but at least it's giving them an opportunity to try to think of it for themselves. And they may come up with a solution that you wouldn't have come up with. But I think the more you're able to have them feel like they have power in the conversation, that they are almost, it's not equal because it's parent and child, but that you really care about what they're saying, the more they'll want to open up to you.
I really want to add on to that.
Yeah.
Well, I hear you. And I see a lot of times that we're missing this, like it's respect, and respect looks different between a parent and teen relationship.
Right.
And it wouldn't be like how it would be in an office setting. So that level of respecting your child's thoughts and opinions and being able to validate, like, this is how you're feeling and I'm respecting that, even if I don't agree with it, knowing that, I hear you, even if it's not something that you might want to encourage. So I just wanted to add on to that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly
awesome.
it.
I mean, I have an 8-year-old. So Miss Amelia, what you're telling me is when he gets off the bus at 3:25, I should not ask him how his day went.
Well, maybe at 8, he's wants to tell you about everything, but when he's 16, maybe not.
He don't want to tell me at 8. So I'm like, so you're saying give my baby some breathing room before I start peppering him with school.
Yeah, decompress a little bit, get the stress of the day off.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll probably want to tell you all about it.
No, this is great, man. And just so that y'all know, you got to bring a little bit of levity to these conversations because they're hard. And so I'm hoping I am providing a little bit of levity. And I want to tell Miss Amelia, Flossie, Caroline, thank you so much. The conversation is going great. We don't want to hold you too long today, guys. We want to make sure that we keep this to a solid 30 minutes. To be respectful of Miss Amelia's time and Flossie, Caroline, we want to be respectful of your time. Miss Amelia, you probably got to be right back up at the school, crack of dawn, ready, bright and early. And kids don't care about how much coffee is left in your cup.
Right, exactly.
So let me throw a quick question to you, Miss Amelia.
Sure.
So what has it been like for you to intervene when you suspect that, all right, this student is going through a relationship where violence of some kind, whether it's digital or emotional or whatever, right? You suspect the child has either come out and told you, or the teen has come out and told you, or you suspect that this is what's going on. What are your next steps, and how do you help?
It's difficult because often it's a friend of that person that comes and says, "I'm worried about my friend," or "This happened," and whatever this was that happened not at school, which makes it harder for us to intervene. But when we do have instances where we are able to have a student say, "This happened to me and I know that wasn't okay," we really work with them on let's talk to your parents. That is that's really our go-to. Your parents want to know about this. They want to be able to support you. And the work then comes with a lot of working through the shame that is involved often of, I should have done something to prevent that this happened, and helping them understand that, your parents aren't going to say that this is your fault. They want to be able to support you, and that can be really tough. But really, when we are made aware that something like that is happening, we really try to let the parents know, and often if they're willing to tell us who the other person was that was hurting them, which they often aren't, but if they are and that person goes to our school, we most definitely address it with them. And usually we get higher ups involved. The head of the upper school would be involved in that conversation. That child's parents would be involved in a conversation of, we are hearing that this is happening and that's not okay, so let's all talk about it. Because more than I want to, I need to believe that people that do perpetrate teenage dating violence, if they're educated enough and if we're supporting them enough, they can change and alter that behavior, especially as teenagers. So if there is a way that we can intervene and support that person too, we will do it. But it's a new world that we're walking into, and we're really only seeing recently people being willing to tell us about when this happens. And also, when they come to us, I want to make sure they see that we do something, because I want everyone else to know, okay, if I tell the school, they're going to do something about it. They're going to support me.
I love that. And so I want to kick this over to Flossie and Caroline here real quick. So I consider myself a relatively new parent, right? 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. So, I think that still counts as new. And I know the inappropriate way to respond to my child telling me that they were a victim of dating violence of some kind, right? Like, inappropriate meaning traditional dad, right, blows completely up. And at that point, I'm not listening anymore. And it's like, we are dealing with this right now.
Yeah.
Point out the person and we're going to their house, right? Like that's
right. Yeah.
That's dad is blinders on, raging mode, right?
Yeah.
Please help me and tell me
I'll say to that?
tell me the appropriate way to do this.
I'll say that it's time, when you hear shocking news like that, it's important to regulate your own emotions as well. Because if you're at a 10, you are not listening to anything else. It's just going to be only that feeling. So being able to come to a space of, wow, this is a lot, process what you're hearing. And of course, always believing your child when they tell you things like this, even if it's out of your wildest dreams, you never would have imagined. Believe them in what they say. Take the time to regulate your own emotions, because if you get to a 10, then they're going to a 10, and then it's just overwhelming. So trying to stay calm. And if you don't know what to do, then that's an absolute, let's talk to a professional. Let's talk to Amelia about what we can do next. And because, as parents, we don't always have the answers, but it is okay to not have the answers and go on this journey alongside your child.
And I would just add, even if you're the parent that grabs a pitchfork, it's still okay to show your children that you can still count down from 10, or count up to 10, or whatever you do to calm yourself down and go, okay, you know what? Let me take a breath. Let me sit this pitchfork back down, and let's sit and really talk and let me hear what you're saying to me. So, even if you do go there, it's important to show that sometimes, like Caroline said, sometimes things are surprising and you get there, but it's good to come back down, because you do want to listen and be there for your child.
And it's like Amelia said earlier, it's modeling that behavior too,
Exactly.
And I'd say, sometimes the parent's reaction is a reason why teens won't say something, because they're worried about a big emotional reaction. And like Flossie said, we're all human, and obviously this is distressing, so there's going to be some heightened emotion around it. But if you're able to stay calm and really talk and listen, the better that will go, and they'll be more likely to come and talk to you about it.
I appreciate all of you guys, because I'm going to go with Caroline and Amelia's answer, only because Flossie, because you said it's okay for me to have the pitchfork. but I have to count down or count up. If I pick the pitchfork up, it's not coming back down. So I'm going to go with regulate your emotions throughout this process. Because once the pitchfork gets picked up, we're in the car, we're out the door.
Right.
So I want to round this conversation out with a question really for each one of you guys. Again, I want to be super respectful. Audience that are participating, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I normally say that at the beginning. I'm sorry, conversation got good and I kept talking. So if you have some questions, we got a couple of minutes. We got a little bit of time to get those answered. And if you have questions and you're watching this after we're live, just tell us who the question is for, and I'll make sure to facilitate getting you the answer. So I don't want you guys to feel like because you didn't catch this live, we can't get your question answered. So even if it's to Miss Amelia or Flossie or Caroline, or I'm sorry, Amelia, we'll still get your question answered. So feel free, even if you're watching this later, we're going to get your questions answered. So quickly, Miss Caroline, what do you wish more students and families knew about the resources that are out there about dating violence?
Yeah, so we see, I'm unsure what the statistic is, but so many students believe that no one in their community intervened. They felt like no one helped them. So as a community, knowing that there are resources out there. So not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid, to say like, well, this is just a me problem, knowing that a lot of people do go through this and there is a support network. So reaching out, to an adult for help. If you don't know more, reach out to PADV and we can connect you to resources. There's so many organizations and people that, really want to spread awareness and fight against teen dating violence. So, we're a team. Let's do this together.
And then I'm going to go to Miss Flossie next. So Caroline answered the question perfectly about teens. Flossie, what do you wish more parents knew about the resources and things that are available to them? Or really, honestly, what do you want parents to know, period, about teen dating violence? Like, you can go either way, open-ended or resources. What do you want more parents to know, period, about teen dating violence?
I have to be honest, the same answer that Caroline gave is true for parents. Is that there are resources out there for them, starting with PADV. So your local domestic violence agency is a great start. The information you can get from someone on the hotline is really a really good start to educate yourself about what teen dating violence is and how you can help your child. So that's what I would say. It's important that parents believe their kids when they tell them things, and then try and seek the help for them. And you've always got our agency out there that can help.
So I can't believe neither one of you guys did the shameless plug that I was hoping you'd do about Teen Summit coming up on April 23rd.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding. Both of your answers are perfect. I do want to drop in. I'm going to kick the last question over to Miss Amelia. But before I do, that was just an interesting time to talk about the fact that Teen Summit can get a lot of these things, a lot of these questions and concerns and resources for parents and teenagers and young adults, April 23rd at Decatur High School. So we're super excited to be hosting that in person this year. We've been on a obviously, like everybody, on a 2-year hiatus, but we're going to keep everybody as safe as we can. And we feel like it's important that this event is brought back to the community, because it is about teaching teens and families about what healthy relationships look like, and how do you be authentically yourself in the age that we all live in. So shameless plug about that. And I do want to make sure I give the closing bell. I may ask one simple follow-up question later on, but right now I think the closing bell is going to go to Amelia. What do you hope schools could do better in the future in preventing and assisting teenagers who are victims of dating violence?
So I keep coming back to that. I feel like educating the teenagers, educating the parents on what it is, trying to destigmatize the shame that comes with it, and that if you ask for help, something will be done about it. But I feel like on the prevention end, it's really looking at the perpetrators of the dating violence. And I encourage parents to also not put their heads in the sand if your child is one of them, because there is all the opportunity in the world to educate them and help them understand how what they're doing is hurting other people. It often comes from a place of feeling insecure, low self-esteem, all kinds of other really like negative traits about themselves. And we can do something about that. We can help them. We can fix that. And so I guess as a school counselor, I'm looking at it from all sides of, I have to believe that there's a way to help the perpetrators in these situations too be people that don't do this to others. So that's what I hope that we as a school would be able to do better for our kids.
I love it, man. So really quickly, I just want to, before I get into some closing thoughts, I want to thank all of you, Flossie, Caroline, Amelia, like amazing way to start this month of teen dating violence. Awareness Month, well, amazing way to kick it off. You guys did an amazing job, and I thank you so much. If I had an applause sounder, it would be going off right now.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll work on that before next week. But yeah, man, I want to make sure that everybody knows this month, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, we're going to be engaging in a series of conversations, one every week, that are geared towards obviously getting people to talk about it. That's kind of the theme of this month, talk about it. And so next week, we're going to be hosting a conversation with teenagers around healthy relationships. And then the last week of February, we're going to come back and have a conversation with the school, with a college counselor. Again, because understanding that dating violence and teen dating violence doesn't end when your kid goes to college. It continues on. And so we want to make sure we're having very thoughtful and open conversations about every level of being a teenager. So I sincerely appreciate you. There's a couple of ways that you guys can follow along with us this year. You can follow the PADV main organization page across all social media channels at PADV Atlanta. And then if you're looking for teen specific content on Instagram, you can follow Caroline and Flossie at Teens Against Dating Violence. And that is an amazing Instagram account because you're getting our Teens Against Dating Violence Advisory Board produces a lot of content for that page. And that's specifically designed by teens and Flossie and Caroline, but the target audience for that are both teenagers and parents with teenagers. And so they're consistently giving amazing resources. So if you haven't followed that page, follow that page now, Teens Against Dating Violence, for amazing content. And I think Flossie hit it earlier. If you're looking for resources, you can go to our website, padv.org, click on the dating violence banner across the top, and there's a drop-down menu that'll give you amazing resources about dating violence. And our 24-hour crisis line, yes, it's for domestic violence survivors, but you can also call. Our advocates on the crisis line are amazing. And if you want specific teen-related content there, if you want to talk about teen dating violence, our advocates are there, 404-873-1766 to help get you and guide you to questions. And if you want to have Flossie or Caroline come out to your school, we're going to be at Pace Academy, I think.
March 2nd.
It's on my calendar to be there.
Yep, that's it.
So if you're interested in having our teen dating violence advocates come to your school or come to your church or wherever, if there are teens and their parents, we will travel, right? And so if you're interested in having us come out and do that, again, visit our website, click on the dating violence tab, and you can actually schedule a presentation, and Flossie or Caroline or another one of our advocates will come out to your place. You don't have to go anywhere. All you have to do is have able bodies, and we will come out and carry that conversation to them. So before we walk out of here, guys, any closing thoughts, any closing comments?
I just thought it was really awesome conversation. I hope that, even after Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is over, we can continue doing things like this, where we're talking about this issue and how we can, as professionals, do better.
Perfect.
Good conversation. I agree.
Miss Amelia, any closing comments?
I agree. This was wonderful, and I'm so grateful to PADV for all that you do for our community. And the more that we talk about it, the less shame that comes with it, and then more people are asking for help. So I am all about it. Thank you so much.
Amen. And thank you, you guys. Sincerely appreciate you for joining. Miss Amelia, Caroline, Flossie, Amelia. I'm sorry, my mom. It's my mama's fault. She, if you're, my mama. She told me to make sure
Good
I
manners. I
said
like
men.
it.
I try a little bit. But thank you all for being such willing to give up your 30 minutes this evening. And again, tune in next Wednesday, same time, same bat channel. For the next conversation, we're going to have our Teen Dating Violence Advisory Board members here to carry on another conversation about teen dating violence. So thank you guys so much. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And if there's something that our organization can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you guys, and y'all have an amazing evening.
Thank you so much.